Hey boys and girls, so the first video I did for my channel was on my Cardboard Blaster. For Foam Fest, which doesn't appear to be going ahead now, this year, I was going to do a version 2. So I thought before I assemble everything, I would do a quick overview of all the internal parts. So let's do that. Right, so this is everything. So where should we start? Let's start with where I started, the main body. So it's obviously just a cardboard tube. I've cut a gap here for the catch, which I'll just show you. So in the catch just slides in, fits in there like that, and then once the spring's on the first Cardboard Blaster I put a little notch up in here for the spring to sit into. I'll probably do that again. So then there's movement there. So then I'll probably also have to make a cut down here for the trigger to be able to fit in, because as I'll show you in a minute, the trigger sits up a little bit so that it can push the catch up. Also on the original, obviously there'll be a magwell, which will be around here somewhere, and then I will also cut a jam door, because you can see if it's not feeding nicely, work out the problems and such. So that's the main body. So also with this hole, and I've done it on a lot of other things, I'll mention it as I go, just put a bit of the wood glue around the insides where it's been cut, and across the surface here and on the surface there, just to stop the cardboard from fraying. Gives it a bit more strength as well, so it's not as flexible and nice and hard. So then I've got another tube which will sit in here, and this one will house the dart gate. So all the internals are from an Elite Alpha Trooper, if anyone is interested. So I've cut it at a slight angle just because how the knife went. So that sits in there. To get it to sit snug and not move about, I've got these, I guess you call them plates. So just written on here so I know which side's which. So this one goes here, this one goes here. You can see I've got there, to do these bits I just kind of put it on, pressed it in, cut it with a knife, went on there, and then those bits just slip in there. It's really tight. I'm not going to try and force it whilst I'm on camera, I'm trying to do other things, but yeah. So that's the outer barrel. I've then got an inner barrel here, and I've got a little spacer support. I don't really know what to call it. We'll call it an inner barrel support here, which I've just cut. So this is the first round. It was okay, but this hole's too far off center. It needs to be slightly off, because the way that the gate sits in there, it's slightly up. But anyways, so yeah, that was the first round. So then I did this one. It fits real nice, just goes in like so, and that will sit further down in. Oh, it's a little too nice. So yeah, just to stop the barrel from moving about and to get the barrel to sit in, I've made a little cut under here, little notches. It sits in quite nicely. So then that all sits inside there. I haven't decided, because it's gonna sit about here, I think, roughly. No, it's gonna be much further than that. It's gonna be about here. I've got lots of excess. Hold on. lots of excess up here, so I don't know whether to cut some of that off or not at the moment. I'll decide that when I start putting it all together. Priming, so I've got priming bars. Again, I've written on here so I remember which side's for which. It does matter, just for the fitment. So proper hole side, that's this one. These will just sit in here, just screw it in as normal. I've obviously, you can see here, I've chopped off some of the material around the bolt sled, but it will just screw in like normal. And then I've also, the Alpha Trooper only has a bar on one side, but with the version 1 Carvel Blaster I was having issues with the priming, and I think because it's just one side, obviously, even though this is covered in that wood glue, it's 3 layers of some pretty tough cardboard. It's not very flexible, but it obviously does bend. I've gone and drilled a hole the other side for another priming bar, and then I've just got toilet roll, slides over there nicely, so that will just be glued and then will go in. Plunger, tube, rod, everything. Again, made some more supports, guides, whatever you want to call them, just sit in there, and then those will just slide down in there. Again, it's pretty snug, and once they're in, the same with the Dart Guide ones, I will glue them so that they don't move. So yeah, that's how that will all sit in there. So I made, this was my first attempt, but they were too thin, so put that one in. I'll just do one side. As you can see, it's too thin, moving about. I thought about just putting another piece across here, cardboard, but oh, that was too much effort. It's just easier just to cut a wider piece, so I did that. Then moving to the back end, you've got the end cap, I suppose I'll call this. So cut 2 circles of some pretty heavy duty corrugated card, glued them together, so then that fits in there, nice. And then the plunger rod, so I've coated the inside of here and down, like the opposite side of here and this side actually, with that wood glue again to give it strength, because the plan is the plunger rod, I'm going to have to do something about that, it's a bit too tight, too snug. So the plunger rod will go through, and hopefully the spring will rest on there. I may have to strengthen that some other way. On the original one, what I did was, on the inside of here, obviously down this end, but on the inside of this tube I just glued a bit of cardboard to try and stop the spring moving, but it's varying degrees of success. If you want to hear about the first one, I've got obviously my first video, like I said, go have a look at that. What else was I going to say about this? Oh yes, so these pieces, lost that. These pieces I have designed, yes, designed, whatever you may think, has some design thought gone into this, like all you 3D printing buddies. You can see, oh, get that to sit, the catch should line up with these pieces to help guide it. And then what I will also do is, although thinking about it I need space, maybe that's why the first one doesn't catch, I didn't leave enough space for the spring, or I've just had some horrible thoughts. we'll address those when we come to them. Yeah, I'm going to have issues with that catching. So I'm probably, now I'm thinking about it, workshopping on camera, grand. I will cut. So for this one, what I did here for this piece is I cut into the first layer of corrugated card. So that sits down to about here, and then is resting on this piece, but like the full thing, if that makes sense. So thinking about this right now, I'm probably going to have to do the same this side in terms of cutting in here, so the spring will fit in there, so I can get enough, because as you can see there, a spring is not going to fit into that much space when it's fully compressed. Oh, that explains a lot. Okay, so that's that piece. The grip, grab this a second. So the original version 1 grip looks like this. For version 2, I tried to do something like this first off. Sandwich them together, like with this one, as you can see. But, I mean, it's alright, but I just wasn't feeling it, and that one was a bit too high there. But you can see what I tried to do there. I just wasn't feeling that at all. So, I came up with, well, I mean, this is just a spare one I had. This shape, it's actually really comfy. So, I glued 4 pieces together. So I've got the inside pieces are some slightly softer corrugated card than the outside pieces. The outside pieces are the same as this one and the bits I used for this. And then you can see I've coated the outside with the glue just to try and, because on the first one it started to wear down quite badly and get all mushed up, so that should hopefully stop that. And then I cut out the inside bit for the trigger. In hindsight, I should have cut the inside bit to shape first, because that was a pain in the butt, and I don't know if you can see on there, that side, I didn't manage to get it all off. But it's done now. So yeah, that's really tough. Nice grip. And then the trigger. So the original, I used an Alpha Trooper trigger. This one I wanted to try and do as much cardboard as possible. I was going to do the plunger rod cardboard, but I decided I couldn't be bothered to cut it off, and then gluing it down, it was going to be a pain, because that's going to be under quite a lot of stress. So I just left that plastic. But anyway, made the trigger. It's a trigger. Trigger evolution. I've made a couple of other attempts at the trigger. So this was attempt 1. It just didn't fit in the gap properly, so that step down didn't work, and it was too low, and this piece here is too thin, although actually it's probably about right. But so then I went on to version 2, which then this time the little peg for the spring was too low for my liking. So as you can see with the final version, I've got, you can't see that side too well, it's better that side. I've got this little base piece here before the peg, just to help protect the spring and give the trigger some more stability in the grip. Trigger evolution. I'm gonna I might use my Dremel and sand just in here, just to try and get it nicer. It's a bit rough, obviously you can see it's not all level. I've got the back, the piece that pushes the catch up, and the top all nice. That again is made up of 6 pieces. The middle 2 have a little peg, I suppose, sticking out for the spring, which will then rest up against this lower piece down here. So then the trigger just sits in like that. Trigger evolution. It's probably a little too far forward actually. So yeah, like I say, I'm going to cut some of this material off the front here, so then it's more comfortable, and yeah, nice. What else? So that's basically it. So I'm going to have to glue it all together next. Obviously I need to work out these issues. Oh, I see. I used the end cap like I was saying with this one as the guide. So that's one thing I need to work out. You can also see I was saying cut the hole for the trigger to fit. Yeah. So that's that. So that's the version 2 or i2, iteration 2 of my cardboard blaster. Like I said, I wanted to try and make as much of it cardboard as possible. So yeah, that's what I've tried to do. I've tried to be a lot neater with it than the first one. The first one looks very rough. It's put together in quite a hurry because it was for the Britnerf competition a few years ago. So follow me on Instagram, link below, to follow any progress. I'll do obviously another video once it's all put together and working. So like the video, subscribe, ring the bell, because I don't know, like I say, when I'm doing videos. There should be a few more coming up in the next few months with everything that's going on. Yeah, and keep your eyes peeled on my Instagram.